Welcome to Reading by Candlelight at Molly's Cottage, where we proudly celebrate and promote new Australian authors and their stories. I'm Fiona Taylor, host of Reading by Candlelight, a community of readers brought together by Molly, founder and owner of Molly's Cottage, a sustainable gifting business. Molly's Cottage offer a monthly book box promoting a debut or emerging Australian writer, and their book is accompanied by selected local products complementing the novel's setting or protagonist. We hope that you enjoyed this month's chat with our Reading by Candlelight book box author. Welcome, Holly Craig, to Reading by Candlelight at Molly's Cottage.
Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting.
And for the first time ever, we are actually here in Molly's Cottage, as I'm visiting her at the moment here in beautiful Tasmania. Now, it's so lovely to have you here, Holly, to talk about your already best-selling debut, The Shallows. Look at that gorgeous cover, everyone. Look, my nails match, and look, Holly's nails match too. We have beautiful red nails to go with.
I know, look, we need to put it together like this, see? Our nails. They're almost identical, the nail colour.
Yes, I actually take the books in and the ladies at my
nails. Do they? I should have done that. I just kind of took a lucky guess with mine.
They match them to the books, and it's a beautiful cover. You must be so happy with that.
I love this cover. I love how it's got a lot of action and movement in it, like with the speedboat and the waves and the water. I can't wait for people to see my second cover for the Rip as well. That's going to be so exciting. But yeah, I love this. I reckon it's really striking.
Now, first, before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional lands of the Palua people of Lutruwita. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. At Reading by Candlelight, we're all about celebrating new voices, and so I add my appreciation of Aboriginal stories handed down for generations. Now, there is so much I can tell our listeners about you, Holly Craig, and all is good.
And you're not, and I was just going to say that you're pretty biased, Fiona, because Fiona is part of the Right Club. So we've known each other for a while now. We're more friends now, aren't we, than anything?
I think so too. And thank you so much for saying that I'm your friend.
You are my friend. I can't wait to see you over East.
Now, when I first started writing and I joined Instagram, Holly was one of the first writers I ever followed. And I'd heard her speak on Pam Cook's Writes for Women podcast, and I loved your upbeat positivity. And I thought I could follow your journey as you'd recently signed with Thomas and Mercer in the UK for The Shallows and your upcoming second novel, The Rip. And not long after that, you started the Right Club, and I signed up along with some very talented and wonderful writers around the country to your fortnightly writing classes. And we'll talk more about that later. But I just love that we've all been along for the ride with you. And so much so that sometimes The Shallows almost feels like our book debut as well.
Oh, I love that.
In addition to being an author and writing mentor, Holly's been an English teacher and lives in beautiful Western Australia with her family. She also co-hosts Off the Page podcast with fellow WA author Polly Phillips. And although this is Holly's debut, she's already written books 2, 3, and 4, and is currently working on number 5 because obviously, listeners, she does not sleep. Now, let's start off, Holly, with what I ask all authors on the podcast. And just remembering we don't do spoilers here on Reading by Candlelight, can you give us an elevator pitch for The Shallows?
Yes, I can. And this time I've actually written it down because in my previous interview with Claire a few weeks ago, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I can't sum it up quickly. So this is it. Emma's husband forces her and their family to flee on their yacht after their neighbour is found murdered in their elite Sydney suburb.
Oh, that's an excellent elevator. That's actually an elevator pitch.
I love that.
Yeah, so most people...
Actually, sorry, go.
I was just going to say, most people say elevator pitch too. It's quite long.
Yeah. Well, I actually just stole that from Darley Anderson. I was like, that's perfect. That sums up. That was actually the elevator pitch that they put in the Frankfurt Book Fair catalogue when I was like the author of the highlighted author when they went there. So I was like, oh, actually, that's perfect. It sums it up as a little teaser and doesn't give too much away.
That's brilliant. What I'm interested in, Holly, and I don't think I've ever asked you this question. What made you decide to write this story and base it in Sydney and off the coast of Queensland instead of in your own hometown of WA?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you haven't asked that. So before I wrote The Shallows, I wrote The Residence, which was a murder mystery style of book. And while I was writing that, I had the idea of The Shallows in my head, and I knew I wanted to write something very like adventurous and suspenseful and that kind of real survival suspense kind of genre. And I remember stopping my publisher, when she was just, sorry, my agent, when she was just about to send out The Residents onto submission to publishers. And I said to her, just wait, actually, because I'm starting to write something else and I really want this one to be my debut. And she said, oh, no, but we love The Residents and we want to send this out. And I said, no, stop. I don't want murder mystery or an Agatha Christie style genre to be my first genre. I really want this to be the one. So she said, okay, then. And she kind of stopped. And I quickly wrote The Shallows because I had it all in my head already. And I knew that I had to set it in Australia because she had already said to me, if we want to set you apart from all the authors that are in the UK, because my agency is a UK agency, she said, we need to have you set up your brand in Australia and be like the Australian writer of survival, suspense, and thriller. And I picked Sydney because I knew, well, overseas and internationally, everyone knows Sydney. Plus, I lived there as soon as I finished high school. My best friend and I went driving over there, and we lived in Bondi for a long time, and I loved it so much. And I just thought Sydney's a famous city. If I set it there, everyone's going to know about it. And I also just loved Queensland. I got engaged up in the Whitsundays, and my sister lived up there, so I just loved that whole tropical feel. And I thought, putting it in Sydney and then putting it in, setting it in Queensland will just allow international readers to really see like parts of Australia as well. So I guess that's why I said it there. It was my agent telling me to.
Now, you've let go a really little hint there that you are a very fast writer, Holly.
I know. And it sounds ridiculous. Like even this morning, I was at the doctor and I was telling her about how I've had a little bit of anxiety leading up to the launch. And she said to me, how long did it take for you to write the Shallows, the book? And I said, it sounds stupid because when I say it, it almost seems like it's not true. But it took me 7 weeks to write the Shallows. That was the first draft. But yeah, 7 weeks, and it's I think it's 88,000 words as well. So it was quite a lot. But then now that I'm, slowing down a bit more, like this book that I'm writing now will probably take 4 months or whatever. It's just that I fully had this urgent and desperate need to get published. And I knew that she was waiting, my agent was waiting on this. So I just absolutely smashed out The Shallows. But yeah, even The Residents I wrote in 8 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing. It's a I mean, when you think that there are people out there who take 2, 3, 5,
Years.
7, 10 years to write a book, to be
I
able
know.
to write them in a matter of months is a gift.
I know, but I have been writing as well forever, and I think that's another thing. Like it's just been something that I've just done constantly as a hobby when I was a kid and a teenager, and even in my 20s, I was constantly writing. So I think you just get better and faster at it as you go along.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect type thing.
And did you need to do any research for it? Because I know that you grew up on boats and on Rottnest Island. Did that make it easier for you because it was part of your lived experience?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we lived in lived on luxury motor yachts like the one that's in the Shallows. But yeah, definitely being on boats, growing up on boats our whole life. We always had new boats because my dad owned a boat yard, so we were always getting new boats. Just definitely, I was like, I want to set this on a boat because there's all that kind of actiony feeling on a boat, and especially when you're going to like an isolated place or an island. It really lends itself, sorry, to that kind of suspenseful thriller type setting. But I'm trying to think what the first part of the question was again. What did you say?
What research did you do for
Oh, yeah,
writing?
the research. So, without giving too much away with the plot, but there's a lot of kind of dark themes in the book, which I had to go and find out about through people that I knew actually dabble and deal in that industry. So even things like I can't say too much, but there are themes in the book that are really quite dark and disgusting. And so I thought I need to get this right. I don't want people to read this and then think, oh my God, that's so unrealistic. Or do we even have that happening in Australia? And yes, we do. And I actually went to proper people that actually deal with that. So I did research through them because they work in that area. And then with the stuff like with the boats and stuff, yeah, that's kind of comes from prior knowledge, but also I was like reading diary entries that people had written on the internet about how long it took to travel from Sydney to Queensland on a boat. And like I just kind of gauged, like looking at maps, like how long it would take. So all that kind of stuff I did research on. But yeah, the rest kind of just came from, I guess, lived experience being on boats and water. Yeah.
That's amazing. And now this is such an interesting turn that leading up to your launch has taken, because The Shallows was Amazon's domestic suspense choice for their global first reads program on Kindle before publication, and is now a best-selling book even before the official publishing date. You must be so thrilled.
I am, and I spoke to Polly about this on our interview that we did just a few weeks ago. I had a feeling, I kind of knew this would happen because that's the aim with the First Reads program. They want to put their authors out there onto this program before it's released, because they know by doing that it's going to drive those sales. The algorithm, like the book will go up the charts really quickly. So it's all really, really strategic. And obviously, like, Thomas and Mercer and Amazon are just so good at that kind of thing. But yeah, but you know what? Before that, I was just thrilled to be selected, because the publishers have each of their authors with, Thomas and Mercer has their crime and thriller authors, and then Montlake, which is another imprint, they do like their romance authors, and then they've got like there's a United A, and there's all different, I guess, like what are they called? Like their branches underneath within publishing house. Yeah. And so each of those publishers will pick just one of their authors from that branch. So just for them to actually select The Shallows as a debut, not even knowing how it's going to succeed, was just amazing, because my editor had to fight for that and say, like, no, I really, really want Holly to be the global Amazon First Reads thriller for this month. And that's why my publication date got pushed back. But yeah, absolutely thrilling. And I mean, you can't get a better kind of leverage off the ground being a debut. I just think, and being, number one in Australia, the UK, and the US within 3 days of it being out on Kindle was, oh my gosh, mind blowing.
I know, we were all so happy for you. It was just beautiful to see on Instagram, and it all blowing up. All the writers that you've connected with, all being so excited for you. And so many reviews, Holly. Oh my goodness. I just can't believe that for a book that's not even out yet, there are so many reviews.
I know. And I think a lot of the time, Fiona, like I reckon a lot of people, especially people that are either readers but not writers, and they're not in the industry, they don't understand why that's so important. Like even my partner, when he was saying, I was like, oh my God, I've got like beyond 3,000 reviews now. And he said, so why is that so good? Like, but really, when you think about it, there's some authors that won't even ever reach that amount of reviews, and it just helps for readers to see that, wow, this many people have read the book or more, because not everyone leaves a review. Like I don't even really leave reviews, so a small amount of people that have read the book have left a review, and it just makes other readers see that, and then they go, oh my gosh, like this must be a good book. And it's actually doing quite well, the ratings, because my editor did warn me. She said, just a heads up that normally first reads books won't get very good reviews because it's like cheaper or free. People are more likely to rate it down. Isn't that funny? But it's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like with everything in life. If you get something for free, you just kind of don't care about it as much. So she was saying to me, you'll probably get like maybe 3 out of 5, but I'm averaging 4.1, 4.2. So it's
It's
really good.
brilliant. It is.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And so many that are excited for your next book
I
already,
know.
which is really wonderful, you know. And I think that too, having read it, um, your protagonist, Emma, certainly evolves over the course of the story. And it's so gratifying to see her become stronger with every setback. And
Yeah.
what is it about her as a character that you admire the most?
So what I love about her is she does start off almost like she starts off as a character that you kind of can't gel with at first. She's very kind of blunt and straight to the point and isn't afraid of, pissing off the reader, which I like to do that. I like to provoke the reader. But as you go along, you start warming to her through her strength and determination and her, wanting to protect her children. And so what I love about her is that she, number one, just wants to live her life the way she wants to live it and doesn't care about societal expectations at all. With her love affair and everything, she just wants to be happy and doesn't care what it takes. And I just love her determination. And in a way, I kind of feel like maybe I was writing her subconsciously as myself, because over 9 years, I've gone from being just down the bottom, the depths of despair, kind of 9 years ago when I broke up with my husband and got a divorce. And then I have like really slowly rebuilt myself up until now where I'm living my best life. So I think I probably put her under so much pressure and stress, and she had to jump so many hurdles, maybe subconsciously, because that's how I felt. So that's what she really resonates with me in that way. And I think all mums would do whatever they could to protect their children as well. So
Oh, I
yeah.
agree. Absolutely. And I think too that the fact that she is quite a multifaceted character. I mean, she's just not some cookie cutter mum of 2 kids in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And she has secrets.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about, about following her journey, is that we find these secrets out bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
And what I loved about the Shallows, besides the character development, was how you put the reader on the edge of their seat, especially once the story hits the open seas. And so, and I was intrigued to know how much you actually knew about sailing and yachts, because I felt like it was a lot. Did writing faster paced scenes come easier because you understood the subject matter?
Yeah, I think so. And do you know, when I'm writing those scenes, I know every writer does, but I really feel like I'm living that. And those scenes at the very end, which everyone goes on about, I really, really put myself in that moment and really thought about how would I feel in this terrifying scenario. And so I think as you're writing that, you're feeling that, like even now when I think about it, I feel all like, oh, like shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, maybe it comes down to, my lived experience being on boats, and also that feeling of what if the boat tips over, or like, and like being on rough seas, but also like we're being in Rottnest and swimming and always having that thought of what is underneath me, and always having to look under with my goggles. And yeah, those fast-paced scenes, I write them just by being them, like being Emma, and really feeling what that feels like. It's funny because when I'm writing those scenes, I'm not thinking I want to put the reader on the edge of their seat. Like, I'm not actually going, this is what I want to do in this moment. I just sit down and write. And I think it just happens because I'm living that experience, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
yes, that does make sense. Yeah, I really like that because you're living it, it's you're not aware of what you're writing at the time. It's only
Yeah.
later on when you go back. Oh, that's
Yes,
fabulous.
exactly.
Now, as I've mentioned, you run an online write club, of which I'm lucky enough to be a member,
Yes.
and host a podcast, and you mentor aspiring authors one-on-one, and you, like, you give so much back to the writing community. And could you just explain, why it's so important to you to do that?
Yeah, I think it's because before I found my agent and got published, and while I was at uni and just really following other authors, I was always looking for those authors that were giving back. And really, the only one that I can think of that I followed, and it's so funny because now she's one of my friends, is Natasha Lester.
Mhm.
She used to do a blog called While the Kids Are Sleeping. So back in, I think it was maybe 2014, I would be reading her articles, and it was just helping me so much with the whole journey of publication and things like royalties and advances and what it all means. And I just loved watching it because I saw her from the beginning where she was teaching at university to then like becoming published. And so I just felt like there wasn't that much out there in terms
Mhm.
of like authors really giving and showing those behind the scenes moments. I would normally see authors that would be like, hi, I'm an author, Holly Craig. And then a year later, and here's my book. And then that was it. There was no kind of in between. And so I just think I wanted to do that because that was something that was missing for me. So I just wanted to give back and show people every step of the way, really honestly as well, like not letting anything, no ego get in the way. I want people to see how hard it is, but also how grateful I am. Because I think sometimes I get worried that people look at me and think, oh, whatever, it's all fake. And she's all, she's too positive. Like Polly always goes on about my positivity. But that's because I have wanted this for so long that I am so unbelievably grateful that nothing is bad, nothing's negative. Like every step along the way is fun. And, that's the journey.
I think that if anybody that met you in real life, Holly, anybody would realize that you are not fake. You are always positive. You are always like glass half full.
Yeah.
And which is probably why you and Polly are such good friends.
Yeah, but yeah, yin and yang,
Yin and yang.
opposites
Right.
attract. But
And and you're always positive about people, like about people's writing too, even when you're needing to correct them or help them.
yeah,
You always find something that's positive that you can say. And I think that that's one of the most, and you're such a genuine person. When people meet you, they will understand. And you're going on a lot of a big tour
yeah,
all
yeah,
around.
can't
You're going to meet
wait.
a lot of people, and people are just going to fall in love with you as much as they fell in love with your book, because you are just a genuinely gorgeous person.
Aw, thanks, Fiona. Thank
No,
you. And I think as well, though, like with the feedback, I'm also a teacher, so I understand how to give that feedback in a nice way. But I think as well with the positivity thing, which people say to me all the time, like I said, 9 years ago, I was living in hell and then I've come this far. So that's why I feel just so unbelievably grateful for every moment.
you
Yeah.
do feel grateful, and I would think that and that shows it.
Yeah.
It's all very positive. I don't think you need to worry about. And also, why can't we celebrate when people
I
do
know.
things well, and when we do things well? What is it about our society that feels like, it's okay for men to shout it from the rooftops, but the second a woman does it, it's kind of like, oh, well, she's getting a bit above bit above
Yes.
herself, And I don't
That
think
is so true.
is necessary. I think that this industry is big enough for everyone to support everyone, and
Yeah.
every person who gets a publishing deal makes the rest of us one step closer, because the more that
So
they
true.
open the books to people, the more space there's going to be. And I think that book selling has actually taken off, through COVID, and has continued afterwards. And I think that now it's more Australian books and more Australian crime and thriller books are being sold than any other time in history. So it's
Yeah.
just fabulous time to be writing that way, Holly Craig.
Exactly. But I love what you say about that, about how there's enough room, because I think that's what happens, isn't it? Like in most industries, but you kind of imagine it happening in this industry, that people become quite greedy. Like, oh no, they're my fans or they're my readers. But you're so right in saying that anyone who loves any, like, any crime genre will then look also at you, but it's not like it's going to stop them buying the other author's book.
No,
And yeah, that's what I
they
love.
buy
I
all the
love you
books.
saying that. Yes. Yeah.
Now, I know we can't have a favorite child, Holly, but which character did you enjoy writing the most?
I know I love that question. I think, well, because Emma's first person point of view, and I know I write all the other characters as well, like in through her voice. I just love writing Emma because I love, like what you were saying, I love revealing those secrets that she has. I love revealing the flaws and making her just be a real kind of 3D character that's not perfect. Like you said, she's not a cookie cutout. She has flaws. Those characters are so much more interesting than the nice characters. So I loved writing about her, obviously. But I also loved writing about the kids.
They were,
I
I think too, because the little boy was just like, when you were talking about him, you could see that he really had very high anxiety.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, I remember that.
It's so funny. One of the reviewers that I read on the Amazon like reviews, they said, "Oh, I love the fact that there's kids in the story, and for once they're done realistically." Because I think was writing it when Emmy, my daughter, was Kiki's age, and then my nephew was Cooper's age. So I kind of just could. And also, yeah, obviously when you're a mum, you know how to write kids, but I really enjoyed writing them. Actually, I thought they made it, they just gave it like something else in the plot, and also you just kind of got to know, yeah, like you're saying, their personalities and Cooper's anxiety.
My favorite was definitely Emma because everything revolves around her.
Yeah.
She's a window to her horrific situation, and we really wanted her to succeed and save both herself and her children. So, and I think that's the strength of the book, because, and that's the reason why it needed to be written the way that it was. It needed to be written in first person. It needed, like, she needed to be propelling the story at all times.
Yeah, that's so true. You couldn't do it, could you, with third person, or even with multiple characters would kind of take that attention away from her.
And it would slow it down too. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
that. Yes. Now, for
But don't
all,
you think it's funny as well with first person point of view? You often think, how am I going to write 80,000 words with one person, with one person's perspective? And that always scares me. I'm like, oh no, what if I don't have enough to say? So that's why I did the kind of flashbacks of the then and now, just to give it a different kind of storyline as well.
yeah, that's a very clever technique, and it helps to, and it also helps to propel it.
Exactly.
You know, pushing it all forward until we get to that culmination.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like a countdown, really, isn't it?
Now, for all our writers listening, and I think I know the answer to this, are you a plotter or a pantser?
So I plot the end, like I know how it's going to end, and I might write a synopsis and I roughly, vaguely know how it's going to end, but then I'm a pantser. I just sit down and write. And like I said, that's how I get that, I guess, that tense, suspenseful mood is by sitting down, not really thinking about how the scene's going to go, just imagining that I'm in the scene.
And what advice would you give anyone who's writing to be published or to get published?
I would say the number one thing you should do is get a mentor. So look to either an author who's willing to share and, you know, give out resources or want to help aspiring authors, or just finding a mentor within like a writing group or like a supervisor at university that's teaching creative writing. Just finding someone who's a little bit beyond what you are is going to help you the most. So number one, find a mentor. And I actually said that in my interview with Polly the other day. And then I think the second thing would be to treat your writing not like a hobby, like actually start treating it like a job. So making sure that you're either putting in time to write, but not necessarily every single day, but knowing that every day you'll do something towards your publication dream. It could be, today I'm going to research literary agents. Even if it's for an hour, and then the next day I might write a chapter, and then the next day I'm gonna meet my writing group. So it's like every day just putting something in that day that revolves around writing, that's going to push you into that direction of getting published. That's what I think anyway.
That's really good advice. I like the fact that you're saying, you know, don't not necessarily write every day,
No,
but immerse yourself in that world.
exactly.
That brings you closer to becoming published. That's
Yeah.
excellent advice, Holly.
Yeah. And even reading, reading a chapter of a book is still research, and actually reading that book and really like analyzing and annotating what that author's doing and how they're writing and what techniques they're using, that's considered work. So yeah, it doesn't have to be just, I've got to sit down every day and write. Yeah. Do everything that encompasses writing.
Now, for all our readers out there, can you recommend a book by an Australian author that you've read recently and would recommend? And yes, you can have more than one because everybody always does.
So do you know what? This one has just stuck in my head, and I already know that everyone's read it, so it's kind of annoying. But Christian White, The Wife and the Widow,
Oh, yeah,
is
that's
one of my favorite Aussie books. But also Matthew Spencer's book, Black River, is incredible. Matthew Spencer's with Thomas and Mercer, so he's with my publisher as well. And he's actually interviewing me in Sydney coming up. But they're both, I just love the way they write. I don't know why. I love male authors. Like I love, don't you think there's just something like even Chris Hammer? There's just something about male crime writers that I just really enjoy. I don't know whether it's because their tone or their voice, or I'm not sure what it is, but they're my two that have really stuck out that I keep on going back to and reliving.
No, they're great suggestions.
Yeah.
And not everyone would have read The Wife and the Widow. There will be people out there that don't always, like, crime isn't always
Really?
choice. Well, because people who get the reading by candlelight book boxes, it's a different genre every time. And so they don't always, and that might not be something that they've read before. And then they get excited and go, oh, they're recommending, I've never read that before. I'm going to give that a try. And I think that that's one of the beauties of recommending books, is that it pushes you out of just reading the same old. And so you're trying different things. And I think that just makes you a better read person.
Definitely, because you're reading lots of different genres. Exactly. And especially if you want to be a writer, it's good to read other genres.
Exactly. Now, this is one of my favorite questions. If you were casting the movie of your book, who would you like to play Emma?
I know, and I'm so disappointing because I don't actually have anyone. I never think of famous people when I'm writing my book. So I don't know, actually. Who do you think would be good for her?
So, as I was reading, because I do this for all books, I was thinking of Brooke Satchwell. Now, she played Annie in Annie Neighbours and Frankie on Packed to the Rafters. And she was recently in the miniseries The 12, and she's in her very early 40s and quite a sporty looking person. And at a writers' conference I was recently at with the head of the ABC content creation, and he was there, and he would sign up anything with her in it. So
really?
Yes. So just giving you a heads up, if The Shallows is ever purchased for a screen adaptation, Brooke is your girl.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And she would be great.
Yes.
She would be perfect. I hope she listens to this.
I'll tag it.
Yeah, good.
Now, I'm very excited for your next book, Holly, The Rip, which is coming out is that right? Only 5 months?
Yeah, February the 20th. So yeah, what are we now? Coming up to September. Yeah, so September.
Yes.
Yeah, 6 months. Yeah, 5 or 6 months. Yes.
Crazy. I mean,
and that's also strategic. That's why they wanted to push The Shallows to September, so that when people finish reading The Shallows, they'll instantly go and pre-order The Rip.
That's brilliant. I love the way that they think. They're very
business minded.
Yes, yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
And is there anything you can tell us about The Rip?
Yeah. So it's about a group of people that go to Rottnest Island, which is based off the coast of Western Australia, for a 40th birthday party. Again, a lot of my female characters, because there's actually 2 point of views this time, have lots of flaws, lots of insecurities. It's a lot more about insecurity, human insecurity, and strange kind of human behavior. And while they're at the 40th birthday party, one of the kids goes missing. So The reason why I wrote this book is because, and I don't know whether you've heard the news, but there was some pretty disgusting news that came out yesterday about Rottnest Island, which meant that I had to retract my proof edits and rewrite some bits, which
Oh
I can't
no.
believe. I know, just a weird coincidence. But I basically had to change an element of the story because of what just came out yesterday on the news at Rottnest Island. Because part of the reason why I picked Rottnest Island was not only from my childhood, and we grew up there, and my siblings went to school there. It was because I thought nothing bad ever happens on the island. And that's the first line of the book. So a kid goes missing, and the book is about where is he? Was he taken? Has he got lost? And it's basically about that, but lots of other storylines happening beneath that as well.
Oh, fabulous. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so glad that we don't have long to wait.
I know, not long. I'm really looking forward to people reading that. I love the writ. I'm really proud of it.
Now, the Shallows is the Reading by Candlelight September book box for Molly's Cottage. And you helped Molly to choose rosé as the drink and coconut and lime as the candle scent. Can you tell us how they tie into the story?
Rosé is just because that's my favorite drink, and everyone who knows me knows I love rosé, but it's that summery kind of beachy wine, isn't it? Like it's that light wine. And then the same with the coconut. I feel like that's tropical and it represents the Queensland island and the setting. And I do mention coconut and lime, I'm pretty sure, like when she's having a shower, I mention those scents a lot in my books for some reason. I just think that they're a beautiful scent. But I love the idea of the book box and having that scented candle and the rosé wine. I just think it's such a brilliant idea. I think what you're doing with this Readings by Candlelight and Molly's Cottage is just such a fantastic idea. And you as well are so supportive of writers and authors out there. It's amazing.
Thank you. I love the idea that, that there's something out there that complements that the things that come with the book actually complement the book, like
Same.
from where the book is set, or something that's special to the author, or what the author thought of while they were writing the book. And it gives you a closer connection when you're reading it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that also by having, one of the frustrating things that I found with podcasts about books was that they were always full of spoilers. And so you couldn't actually listen to it without having read the book. And the trouble is that all of us know how big our, to be read piles are. And so sometimes you would never get to that interview because you hadn't read the book yet and you didn't want it to have it spoiled. And so
true.
So I kind of thought, if we had something where we would talk to our book box authors but not spoil it for anyone, and so people could just actually listen to it, and the interview comes out just as the book box goes on sale, so people are welcome to listen to the interview and then decide whether or not they want to have a book box.
How good is that?
It gives people,
it's just such a great idea, and it just goes so hand in hand, doesn't it?
It does. I think it does. Yes. And it's been very successful. People have loved it. And we're very grateful that people have loved it so much. Not just authors and readers, but publishers have loved that, because it's debuts and it's second books, and and they're the hardest ones to get any kind of attention for. And so
true.
We're very proud to promote new Australian stories and new Australian authors.
But it's so good. It must be just so popular, the words getting out there.
It's wonderful. And it's wonderful that you could be one of our book box authors.
I know. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for choosing me.
You're so welcome. And we could probably talk for hours, Holly.
I know we could. We'll have to Zoom, end this and then keep on talking.
I think we should stop for now. But first of all, I want to thank you for your time today and for being Reading by Candlelight's September book box author. And the last 3 book boxes have sold out, so I hope that readers get in quickly to purchase yours.
Yay, that's so fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And finally, you're such a wonderfully positive member of the writing community, Holly, and you help other writers in their journeys to becoming published. And you champion other authors as well. And you deserve everything that comes your way with your debut and the novels that will certainly follow. And I don't even need to wish you all the best for The Shallows because it's already a bestseller. So I'm just going to wish you all the best for your launch this week and enjoy every moment. And I cannot wait to celebrate with you when you come to the East
I can't wait.
And for your Melbourne event. And and you've got events in Sydney, and it's just going to be absolutely fabulous.
I can't wait. And I cannot wait to meet you, and hopefully some of the listeners will come along as well.
Oh, it'll be absolutely wonderful. So Holly Craig, author of The Shallows, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks so much, Fiona. See you later. Bye.